States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made and seconded that the minutes of the previous meeting be approved as submitted on the motion.
Ross?
Yes.
White?
Yes.
Taylor?
Yes.
Robinson?
Yes.
Gaines? Baggett?
Yes.
Height?
Yes.
And Witcher?
Yes.
Let's go to communications. Do I have a blanket motion?
So moved.
Motion made and seconded. Any council member want any of the 1 through 10 pulled?
Number 6, please.
Number 6?
Yes.
All right, then all but 1 through 10 except for 6 on the motion, Ms. Whitby?
Yes.
White?
Yes.
Taylor?
Yes.
Robinson?
Yes.
Gaines?
Yes.
Baggett?
Yes.
Height?
Yes.
And Witcher?
Yes.
Number 6, read or by title.
Please read it entirety, please.
A letter from the Veterans of Foreign Wars of the United States dated May 7, 2009 to the North Little Rock Veterans Memorial Advisory Committee. Dear committee members, we have great pride and respect for the honor you have given us in erecting a monument in the honor of all servicemen and women who have made the sacrifice for our nation and were eager and ready to do their duty when called upon. Military Drive is traveled daily by thousands of these troops, and we feel this would be a great location to erect the monument. Many brave men and women have sacrificed their lives in defense of this wonderful country we live in. It is time we show them just how much we appreciate their efforts. The location for the monument not only gets a lot of traffic, but is also was the home of one of our local heroes who was raised on this very land. This letter will serve as our official request on behalf of the entire membership to have the Saluting Soldiers Memorial erected at 5501 MacArthur Drive. We appreciate your consideration and cooperation in this matter. Sincerely, I believe the name is Victor, I can't read the last name, and he is the Arkansas State Commander.
Do we accept and file?
Second.
On the motion.
Ross?
Yes.
White?
Yes.
Taylor?
Yes.
Robinson?
Yes.
Gaines?
Yes.
Baggett?
Yes.
Height? And Witcher?
Yes.
Before I ask Ms. Whitby to publish a special call, I just want to mention to the council, or to the council knows, mention to those in the audience as well as those at home, North Little Rock Council is moving toward going as paperless as we know how. And some of us know more than others at this point. So you can see little laptops that are, sort of appearing up here, and through Ms. Whitby's efforts, we are looking to try to enter the 21st century, and we encourage everybody that is out there and perhaps even here in the audience to feel free. We do publish the agenda as well as the council, the issues we're voting on, the resolutions and the ordinances. When we have it filed through the city clerk's office, that can be accessed through our web page via government, and under that title you can move to our legislation. You can view your web. We're recording the council sessions, and those are available. They're archived back so far, and so we're going to really make an effort to both keep in contact, perhaps better than maybe we have in the past, but also to utilize this technology and trying to do a better job to serve the citizens of North Little Rock. So if you see us sort of looking in different directions, we may be trying to figure out which buttons to push and which not to push. And if you see an exasperated look on some of our faces, you know we may have pushed the wrong button. So with that, let me ask Ms. Whitby to publish a special call.
Yes, sir. This is an email dated June the 4th. It's to the honorable members of North Little Rock City Council. The purpose of this email is to advise you that Mayor Hayes has called a special meeting of the North Little Rock City Council for 7:05 p.m. on June 8, 2009 at City Hall Council Chambers, North Little Rock, Arkansas. The following will be on the agenda. A resolution authorizing the mayor and city clerk to purchase certain property located at 3124 Pike Avenue for sidewalk improvements to Pike Avenue, appropriating funds and for other purposes, sponsored by Mayor Patrick H. Hayes. References pursuant to Section 2-48, and all 8 members have received this via email.
Let me take a second or two and explain this. We have somewhat of a unique opportunity, and let me kind of walk you through it, because we have 3 property owners. Ms. Waller, who owns the old U.S. Pizza facility without any parking or property on either side, and the ownership of the property on both sides. One is Bruce Engstrom, who is an accountant with a firm here on Main Street. Yeah, the other is his mother-in-law, and so we've got three different property owners. The U.S. Pizza property can't operate without parking, or any business almost can't operate without parking, and so the utilization of both of those ownerships in terms of supporting that business obviously are necessary. We had an appraisal that was in the $20,000 range for, and I'm not sure, Mr. Boyles, was that for the entire track or was that just for the right-of-way that we wanted? So it was for the entire track. We think that probably was a little low, but we are moving toward what I think is probably a reasonable resolution, and that's why it's a little bit unusual because, we approached Mr. Engstrom, who, again, is the owner of property on, one side and then family on the other side, and we made an offer to them, assuming that the council goes along with this, to acquire or to sell the property that we are going to acquire that houses the old U.S. Pizza building to him, or them, well, it'll actually be to him, for $25,000. So the net cost to us will be $25,000 for the property. Now, in addition to that, there are several conditions that Mr. Voyles, and I spoke with Mr. Engstrom this afternoon, and these conditions are verbally okay, assuming that good title and those regular things that come through, environmental, all that information. And obviously, we'd require the same thing before we actually made the purchase, but that they will, the Engstrom Splon would, in addition to paying us $25,000 for the remainder of the property that we don't need for the right-of-way, would also deed to us without cost sufficient right-of-way on their tracts of land that would give us the right-of-way we need for the entire connection on our sidewalk. In exchange for that, in addition to the $25,000, we would agree to erect a wall if they kept the building, and they'll make up their decisions whether they want to keep the building or tear it down, or we would pay to have it torn down. We think either of those two would probably be in the $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 range. So, this request is only part of what the transaction would be, and if we don't enter into that offer and acceptance, because this would be generally a simultaneous closing. We'll close on purchasing the property. Shortly thereafter, we would close on the sale to the Engstrom Splon group, and then that would still, in addition to being able to acquire all the right-of-way that we need on all three tracts of land, we would also obviously have the ownership in one entity that would again give us a chance to perhaps enjoy some development there that might otherwise be more difficult to pursue. So this is really a two-step process, and the second step, being the sale of this, and Mr. Voyles is going to acquire that offer and acceptance. Verbally, we've agreed to it today, and we wouldn't move forward on either one of these, obviously, without certainly keeping the council informed. But for roughly $30,000, $30,000, we'll be able to achieve all the right-of-way, as well as have a contiguous piece of land, and move forward with our construction of our sidewalk, which again is across where the entrance to the Levy area, trying to give everybody a picture of what we're talking about. And it's probably one of the more difficult areas that we have to traverse. So if anybody's got any questions, it is a two-part approach, and we're acquiring perhaps even more right-of-way than we otherwise would have if we'd had to pay this same amount of money for the entire footage that we're going to be receiving. So it's literally an opportunity for us to be able to have a win-win-win for all three parties, and to do it in a reasonable way. So that's why it's a little bit out out of context in terms of just the legislation you see in front of you. The second thing that I want to mention is, our city attorney's office did go forward with this, and we really didn't intend for the money to be taken from the general fund. We want to take it from the capital improvement. Mr. Sisson can give you that language. So after anybody asks any questions, I'll ask that we amend the general fund to take it out of our capital improvement. Yes, sir.
Mayor, I have two quick questions. Is this a uniform piece of property in width, and how long is it, and do we have a survey?
Mr. Voiles?
The properties it will be 5,600 square feet. It's the width of that building, and it goes depth. It has depth to it. So it's probably 25 feet wide, and the total square footage on this property is about 5,600 square feet. That's the residual. We're tearing off the front of the building to build the sidewalk.
Okay. What about the width from Mr. Engstrom and Splons?
There is right-of-way to the east at 60 feet, so I think we're okay there. All the way to the bridge is 50 feet, and we need an additional 10 feet of right-of-way. So starting from this building all the way to the freeway, we're acquiring a 10-foot through a dedication. We've written that up and asked for that to be delivered to the city through a donation, but it's a part of this general agreement that we would do this and they would reciprocate.
Okay. Mayor, whenever these transactions are complete, I really would like to see a drawing of what we're doing, is from an acquisition standpoint and a gift standpoint from the Angstroms and Splons.
Okay. Well, it was certainly fine with me. We did that. We were, trying to get this before the council, obviously by a special call. But we'll make every effort to both, if not with the distribution of the legislation, certainly subsequent to it, to provide maps that will reflect what we're asking. Is that what your request is?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay. If I could, Ms. Whitby, do we read the legislation? If you would, I'd appreciate it.
Resolution authorizing the mayor and city clerk to purchase certain property located at 3124 Pike Avenue for sidewalk improvements to Pike Avenue and appropriating funds.
Move for adoption.
Second.
All right. Now, do I have a motion to amend? Mr. Sisson, what are the words we want to use?
I'm sorry, the sales tax capital improvement fund.
Sales tax capital improvement fund to be substituted for general fund.
Yes, sir.
So moved.
Second.
Alderman Taylor with Alderman Height seconded it. On the motion to amend,
Ross?
Yes.
White?
Yes.
Taylor?
Yes.
Robinson?
Yes.
Gaines? Baggett?
Yes.
Height?
Yes.
And Witcher?
Yes,
Move
move
we
for
adopt as
adoption.
amended.
Second.
on the motion.
Ross?
Yes.
White?
Yes.
Taylor?
Yes.
Robinson?
Yes.
Gaines?
Yes.
Baggett?
Yes.
Height?
Yes.
And Witcher?
Yes.
Okay, thank you all very much. Let's make sure I'm not missing anything. Let's move to the regular agenda. And we've got citizen comments on, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 citizens who've signed up to comment. If you will come to the microphone and identify yourself, and then we've got only one for public comment at the end. Mr. Fury, identify yourself and feel free to address the council.
Robert Fury, Indian Hills, 7205 Pontiac Drive. I have a handout that I'd like to pass out and read.
Just hand it to the city attorney and they'll pass it out. Shows you are speaking to RO 999.
Yes, sir. Resolution 0999 purports to pay $25,000 to the Indian Hills Community Club for an access agreement. This resolution stipulates that the $25,000 is to be appropriated from Ward 4 drainage funds. It is inappropriate, if not illegal, to use drainage funds for anything except drainage improvements and possibly for sidewalk construction. It is also inappropriate, if not illegal, to use these funds for capital improvements that exceed $20,000 in cost without getting competitive bids. I'm a resident of Indian Hills and a member of the...
Remember, I'm sorry to caution you, but remember, we got 3 minutes, and you certainly have all those, but I forgot to...
I'm reading fast, and I've timed this. It's 3 minutes, 10 seconds once I start.
Yeah, you got another 10
I'll read
seconds.
faster. I'm a resident of Indian Hills and a member of the Indian Hills Community Club. Memberships and programs offered at the Indian Hills Community Club are already provided on a non-discriminatory basis to all citizens of North Little Rock. Indeed, currently, the IHCC is actively seeking new members from all 4 wards of North Little Rock, from Sherwood, Jacksonville, anywhere. One of the IHCC's more pressing needs is the resurfacing of the swimming pool. Alderman Witcher lives adjacent to the Indian Hills Community Club property and near the swimming pool. Alderman Witcher crafted this resolution not to establish an access agreement, but to pay $25,000 to a contractor to do the pool resurfacing work. No bids were taken. While his efforts may be honorable in order to be straightforward and legal, perhaps the resolution needs to be reworded to A, state the real purpose of the resolution to pay for the resurfacing of the swimming pool, B, propose a funding source, perhaps a general fund, that is more appropriate than Ward 4 drainage funds, and either, 1, trim the scope of pool resurfacing work to less than $20,000, or take bids for the work. What is really needed by the Indian Hills Community Club is a perpetual funding mechanism to provide for maintenance of the several recreational facilities. Background: in the early 1960s, in an early phase of the development of the Indian Hills addition, the developer Winrock built 2 lakes, a swimming pool, tennis courts, and related amenities, but failed to set up a property owners association, POA, to provide for administration of these facilities and for future maintenance. In 1965, to provide for administration, the IHCC was formed as a nonprofit corporation. Unfortunately, unlike other North Rock neighborhood community clubs, the IHCC has no funding mechanism, for example, a POA, for maintenance of the 2 lakes, swimming pool, tennis courts, grounds, etc. Now, 45 years after its inception, the IHCC is without sufficient funds to address various pressing maintenance issues. The swimming pool needs resurfacing, the joints of the concrete pool deck need to be resealed, the tennis courts are in bad shape and hardly playable, the kiddie pool is not available because of needed maintenance, the roof of the swimming pool building is in poor shape, and the parking lot pavement needs rehabilitation. The last couple of years, the IHCC board and other volunteers have worked hard to keep the property functional and presentable, and the fruits of their labor are evident. Also evident is the need for funding assistance if the IHCC is to continue providing recreational facilities for the citizens of North Little Rock. It is suggested the City Council ask the City Attorney to assist the IHCC Board of Directors with the formation of the Indian Hills Property Owners Association in order to provide a permanent funding mechanism to restore the viability of the IHCC's recreational facilities and to provide a safe, attractive recreational respite for all the citizens in all 4 wards and elsewhere that it serves. Thank you.
You're welcome. Next person, oh, yes, ma'am.
Judy Russell. I'm in Park Hill, and we came initially to talk to you about the animal ordinance changes. We're interested specifically in the chickens portion of it. The way that it reads now is that you need to be 75 feet from the nearest occupied residence. Little Rock has 25 feet, and I think that it would make it a lot easier for those of us who are interested in doing that if it could be considered to be changed to that. We did talk to Bill, Grace, and Debbie and Beth about that, but when we got here, so I think that he's interested in making some changes to the wording of that. So.
Okay. Thank you very much. We've got 3 others that have signed up. Yes, ma'am.
My name is Carla Wilson, and I am 2009 president of the Indian Hills Community Club. I was present just because I knew that something of ours was on the docket today, or on the agenda, and wanted to make sure that we were represented appropriately. I was approached by Mr. Fury before walking in here of his agenda, and I just wanted to make sure that all of you know that he does not represent what the Board of Indian Hills Community Club feels. This is news to me. Some of it is quite a surprise to me and is very different from what the 9 or 10 other board members feel. We have been very appreciative of what Murray has suggested for our pool and what he has talked to us about being funded. At this current time, our pool is sandblasted and has not been resurfaced. It is currently unusable, and we've just been very appreciative of any help that you guys have been able to get approved for us.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Microphone's still open. We got 3 more, actually. Yes, ma'am.
Hi.
Okay, over here. Wait a minute.
I gave him specific directions.
Thank you, Aiken.
There you go.
Thank you very much.
Good job, pal.
Yeah, you helped our city attorney out. Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor Hayes and members of the City Council. I'm Celeste Archer, and I live at 3500 Lock Lane. I'm here, and I'm giving you a copy. I'm going to read it abridged version so I can fit within those 3 minutes. I'm here to ask your consideration of something which seems very commonsensical to me, disallowing chickens and/or their coops within residential city limits. Other than the obvious aesthetic, noise, and odor issues, the threat of histoplasmosis is a serious and compelling reason to ban live poultry and all things necessary to raise this livestock in residential city limits. This respiratory disease is easily contracted when one comes in contact with the molds and mildews common to poultry pens and on poultry excrement. I've attached a copy of the CDC summary about the disease to this testimony, and I will give this paper to the clerk. When my family moved here last summer, I was faced with cleaning large quantities of hidden and undisclosed molds in our home and around the dormant coop in our new backyard. My exposure during the cleanup of this mess resulted in months of breathing difficulties and a debilitating cough. The environmental engineer who eventually had to inspect our Lakewood home warned that these symptoms suggested that I needed to be tested immediately. And I'm going to go down. City liability in allowing this danger within its limits should be considered. Even with permits requiring 75-foot limits, I was told by animal control that if a citizen constructs a coop as far away from their neighbors as possible, the permit is allowed. In our case, the coop was nowhere near those limits and possibly endangered the occupants of at least 5 surrounding homes, not to mention any future owner of our house, such as myself. In addition, when code exists, such as the one we have now, which allows residential poultry under any even restricted circumstances, it is much easier to discover that gray area in our personal moral codes, which might result in non-permitted coops and livestock. Or, with some Arkansas winters being inappropriately chilly for this endeavor, the sort of chicken wire coop that existed in our backyard wouldn't protect the birds, and the owners might move them to inside areas of the house, not to be disclosed to future owners, as we suspect is the case in our home in Lakewood. It would be easy to say that this testimony is about chickens and their coops, and that my last testimony was about cars on lawns, and then to say that they are separate issues, but they are not. These are characteristics of cities which might lack sophistication and fail to attract the sort of new growth that would help the community make necessary progress. Having grown up here when it was a smaller town, I have wide-eyed memories of a bustling JFK that was an attractive and enticing lifeline for all of my family's daily needs, or of a McCain Mall that became the center of my preteen universe. Now these places seem like blank stares overridden by empty storefronts and dollar stores. It feels very much like we in North Little Rock are at a crossroads. We are either headed to being a well-managed and urbane city, or we are going to become a lesser quality, blighted small stretch of urban area, justifying all sorts of Arkansas stereotypes along the way. It reminds me of the scene from what I'm sure is a favorite movie for a lot of us, It's a Wonderful Life. It's that scene when George Bailey is allowed to see what his beloved hometown, like North Little Rock is for me, might look like as Pottersville, complete with a ridiculous abundance of blinking signs. Several weeks ago, a national discount chain advertised a summer educational writing tool for young children. It's a primary level journal. I'd been asking for it for several weeks when it hit me why our store didn't have it. We weren't considered to be the market that might purchase such resources for their kids. Sure enough, yesterday I easily found that unique book and another writing activity on the shelves of the Conway store. Today, just to make sure, I checked again at our location. Again, the books aren't there, and employees don't expect them anytime. We aren't an educated market. When I agreed to return to North Little Rock as part of a career move for my husband, I had visions for my child of, among other things, the lazy days swimming in the swim lake, now banned because of lethal runoff and wild bird poop. My family was one of those enticed across the river by an exuberant Justin Matthews. We love North Little Rock, and I had no clue about the Dogtown moniker until long after I'd gone. Now, returning to raise my son with the same sorts of experience and values I was given, I'm forced to ask the question, who's been minding the store? Please, let's start to consider together what these cars on lawns, chickens and their coops, and blinking signs really say about our home. Thank you.
Thank you. We've got two more who have signed up to talk to the council. Mr. Ard, you're one of them. Kelly Jobe. Okay, well, card too. Okay. Is there a Kelly Jobe here?
Yes, sir. I actually didn't realize that we didn't both need to sign up to talk about chickens. I'm here with Judy.
Oh, okay, so
So we're good.
you're okay?
Second what she said.
Okay. Thank you very much. I tell you, that would be, I think, Ms. Whitby, we do public comment, needs to sign up on a public hearing. So if I'm not mistaken, if that's what I recall, we might as well move into the legislation that Mr. Grace has. Mr. Grace, you want to make any quick comments before we bring this up? I know we've had a couple folks that have commented on that at this meeting, and you want
I don't
to
have anything to add.
introduce us to it?
Alderwoman, excuse me.
Go ahead.
Alderwoman Ross asked me to provide some wording on the changing of the,
I'm not really versed on the chickens, and that's why I asked Mr. Grace if he would explain the 75 feet on the chickens and what the difference.
Okay.
can we word it the same way we did the dog pens? 75 feet or as far as possible?
Right now, it doesn't say as far as possible. Right now, it just says 75 feet. If you'd like that to be reworded, then we can rework something, if that would be a
It's open for
proposed amendment.
discussion. I was just wanting to discuss that. This was
I think
just
the
at
relevant
last
section
minute.
is 7.1.3 on page 34.
Page 34. Page 34.
Yes, sir. It's 7.1.3.
Fifth line, Mayor,
Alderman Witcher,
sir,
you want?
no, I said fifth line.
While we're looking that up, Mayor, can I ask Mr. Grace a question?
Sure.
Mr. Grace, how many, is it $10? Is the current cost of a permit $10 for chickens?
I think it's $1, isn't it?
Is it $1?
I believe it is right now. We haven't handled it before.
This is new, or the
No, it's-
$10 is?
The health department, the $10 is new, and also us checking out the location before the permit's issued is new. Prior to this point, the health department has done that.
Okay, but prior to this point then, approximately how many permits have we issued?
2 have been issued this year.
Pardon me?
2,
2 this year?
yes.
I mean, last year?
I didn't check
We don't
last
know.
year.
So that means
But-
we have two places that have chicken coops, or the remainder of are illegal?
We've issued a lot more citations than that for them. I don't know how many, I don't keep them in my office, but we have issued citations for not having a permit.
Okay, the
I don't
70...
have a count on them. I don't know.
All
how
right.
many.
When you issued citations for not having a permit, did any of those citations issued as because someone had those chickens less than 75 feet within a residence or a dwelling?
I don't recall that. And what I recall is not having a permit. But we do try to get them to cooperate with their neighbors and be as far as possible from any other residence. It's physically impossible on a lot of lots in North Little Rock to be 75 feet from your nearest neighbor.
Well, if it's impossible to be 75 feet, does that mean they can't be 75 feet? They have to be less?
It is, in many cases, same with the dog pits. We've been doing it that way for years. We just ask them to go as far as possible as you can, because some of these lots are only 60 feet wide or something like that. Is that right? Around there. So you can't get 75 feet from someone else's house in either direction on a 60-foot wide lot, so.
So if somebody in my neighborhood wanted to put in a chicken coop and they only have 35 feet to work with, and that 35 feet is rightfully, can they put in one?
Based on the way we've been operating, yes, sir. That was my question to you guys, if you want to continue doing it that way or not.
Let me ask a quick question. What about noise? Is there anywhere in here that if someone's keeping a chicken coop and they're my next door neighbor and we get woke up every morning, is there any recourse we have under this?
The roosters are prohibited, and that's usually the noisemaker in a chicken coop.
Okay, well, so chickens don't cluck.
They cluck, but they don't crow.
They don't crow. Okay, so we don't get complaints for chickens.
I don't recall any.
Okay, all right.
But they've never issued a permit for a rooster. Dean Edwards handled this for years, and he told me he never issued a permit for a rooster.
Okay. Alderwoman White.
Why was the health department involved in the past?
The way the ordinance is written back in 1980.
Was. Any further questions?
Oh, no, I do.
All right, Alderwoman.
Well, one of my concerns, it's the they're only prohibited from the front yard. So currently, the way this states, they can keep them on the side of the house or in the backyard?
They'd have to keep them behind the house in order to get as far as possible from the nearest neighbor. If they put it on the side of the house, they'd have to be right next to their neighbor's house.
Mm-hmm. Are there any lots that they could put them on the side that y'all can think of? Do we need to add prohibit from side yards also?
Mayor, the way it's written is you could put the chicken coop right next to your house as long as it was 75 feet in distance measured by air or a straight line distance to another structure or a residential structure. That was the intent when it was written.
What did you say Little Rock's is?
This lady here said 25. I didn't check. I think she researched it and said 25 feet.
25 feet. Oh, that's way too.
Are there any cities you're aware of that prohibit chickens in their city?
Mayor, I haven't even checked. I don't know of anyone who's prohibited. I read the article in the paper. It seemed to be most cities are leaning toward this, allowing chickens. I didn't research it.
Any other questions? Mr. Grace, thank you very much. This legislation is now before us, so does anybody want to, well, I don't know if it's been called yet. Has anybody called it?
Can I ask, all right, so.
Alderman Witcher?
Is there anyone on the council who would like to make a provision so someone who does not have a lot that would adequately be served by this prohibition, would they want to put something in?
I'm confused.
Give them some space. Jason, help me.
In other words, what we're talking about right now, because section 7.1.3 says 75 feet, there is no provision currently in 7.1.3 that allows for as far as possible to be acceptable.
Right.
But I think what Mr. Grace was just testifying to you was that has been our mode of operation. We've allowed people to have chickens as long as they were as far as possible from their neighbor.
But if we pass this, then the rule will be straightforward.
If we pass this as it's written, it will be 75 feet, straight line distance, or it won't be permitted.
Or else, yeah.
Okay, before we go any further, right now, I'm going ahead and, since this is actually first on the agenda, as well as right after the public comment hearing, that I'm going to consider this, unless there's objection, that this is now before us and that we're into we're into unfinished business. So, at this point, either someone calls it or we're going to go on to new business.
Now, Murray, what was your question?
Okay, I'd like to call it for discussion purposes, please.
All right, would you read it, Ms. Whitby?
Yes, sir. An ordinance adopting a chapter on animal control as part of the North Little Rock Municipal Code, repealing certain code sections, third and final reading.
Okay, discussion, Alderman Witcher, you called it, so you can start us out.
Okay, all right. Mr. Taylor asked the question what I was proposing. And basically it was, if we don't want to have a hard and fast rule of 75 feet from other owners' structures or other structures, then, do we want to make a provision so that it can be closer if there's not an adequate space within the legal lot lines? That,
So it could be closer.
if the council chooses to make a provision of that type, it could be closer. And I'll tell you, my preference would be stay away, but
I think what your purpose is that if somebody can't, if somebody, because of their lot size, is not able to meet the 75-foot requirement, then would they be permitted to, have a chicken coop that would be closer than 75 feet, but as far as possible in any event? Is that what you're saying?
Yes, sir.
So I guess what it is, in an effort to see if you can't have 75 feet, then as far as possible.
Okay.
And right now, we're still, no one has called, we have it read, so it's right for a motion for adoption, or, because we're not proposing any amendments right now, so we're sort of in a little bit of discussion that's even a tad bit premature. But we'll go ahead and permit that. Anybody want to pick up this coop? Is that what I'm asking?
I don't have a problem with 75 feet.
Well, I don't think we should have chickens in the city limits, but, so, 75 feet is too close to my house.
Okay. So if you don't have the 75 feet, then at this point, we adopt this legislation, you don't get a chicken coop. Okay? All right, does anybody, Ms. Ross?
Oh, I'm trying to think of and so I'm coming back to downtown in Argenta, the lots are smaller size lots. What would, I can't do measurements, so what size lot would that be? This would eliminate all chickens from downtown, basically, from that size lots, wouldn't it? Unless you put it right up next to your house, even by 75 feet air mile, there would be a house around you, right?
I think essentially that's what that would do. It would probably eliminate a number, but, I'm sure we've got to consider, how close, in some instances, you may be just too close to neighbors, to permit this kind of activity. If you want chickens, get you a little more real estate.
So if we say as far as possible, you could be within 20 feet.
That's right.
So that's hard to do if you say as far as possible.
Mayor, can we ask Mr. Voles to come up to the mic and see if he may not be able to answer this question, but I'm going to ask it to you. What's the average depth of a residential lot in North Little Rock? And the reason I asked that question, my lot is 125 feet deep, and that's in Overbrook, but I have one of the deepest lots in Overbrook.
About 150 is the old average, is the depth, with an alley was 140.
That's from the curb, right?
That's from the front line to the back line.
Okay.
Generally, there's a 25-foot rear yard setback, so there's a 25-foot space that's supposed to be in the backyard of a single-family residence.
So from the back of the house to the back of the lot is about how many feet?
25 feet.
25 feet, right.
Standard. Now, this issue came up about a dozen years ago, and that's why we have the 75-foot rule, is to prevent chickens from most of the city. Only if you have large acreage or, acre or so, then it's reasonable to have that.
All right, I think we're ready to either move for adoption and then we can discuss it, or or move on to another one if no one's going to move for adoption. So, pardon?
Let's have an amendment.
Well, we got to have it moved for adoption to get it on the floor, though.
Okay.
So if anybody, we're ready for somebody to move for adoption, or we'll move to the next item. So
move.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion made and seconded. All right, now, it's before the council. We're in discussion, amendments or otherwise.
I have,
Okay?
is my turn?
Sure.
Okay. I'd like to add an amendment, 5.2.6. Did you all get a copy of this, of the amendment? Okay. I'd like to add this where it's control of vicious dogs. And then 5.3.1, banning of pit bull breeds of dogs.
Now, is these two separate amendments, or is this was?
Well, this is one amendment.
Yeah.
Okay, if you have a copy of it, Alderwoman Robinson's moving this as one amendment. You want to explain your amendment?
Well, control of vicious dogs, this is just something where we've added where to keep a vicious dog on a leash, wearing a muzzle and under control of a responsible handler, keeping the vicious dog in a secure enclosure, and the owner having to display a sign on the premises warning that there is a dangerous dog on the property. And then the amendment, at all times exercise due care in safeguarding the public from attack by the dog, and no person shall possess with intent to sell, offer for sale, breed by or attempt to within the city any vicious dog. And then with section 5.3.1, banning of pit bull breeds of dogs. Section D talks about grandfathering, where it says dogs that were properly grandfathered under ordinance number 7673 should not be subject to the provisions in the subsection 5.3.1. And so this is pretty much this amendment, for the animal control.
Take that as a motion.
So this is a
second?
motion, so moved.
All right, is there a second?
Second.
We're discussion on the motion to amend. On the motion to amend now, Alderman,
On this amendment, right?
excuse me?
Okay, discussion. Mr. Grace, have you had discussion with Alderman Robinson about this amendment?
I
did.
And
I think I spoke with,
Yeah, I did.
I think
Yeah,
Ms.
city
Jones had a
attorney
discussion.
did. What's the problem?
I'm going to cite Alderwoman Ross, remind her, one night we were presented something at the council meeting and you didn't want to act on it because it's the first you'd seen of it, okay? You'd seen it, all right? And I'm going to say that about this, all right? We went round and round about vicious dogs and pit bulls, 2-3 years ago, and we didn't make a snap decision on that. It took us a while to really make the right decision, and I think we need to hear from the public on this. I think we need on this amendment. Not that it's not right, not that it's wrong, but this is the first I've seen it.
Well,
I'd like to have
it's
some
my
time to look
understanding-
into it. Mr. Carter?
For the fact that it's the first time that you've seen it, that's my fault. I've been chasing my tail. I think Alderwoman Robinson actually asked me to get this emailed out to you, but, in the rush of getting things done, somehow that send button just didn't get clicked. That's my responsibility, and so that just didn't happen. As far as the comprehensiveness of the amendments, I want to clarify for you that the only change in that 5.2.6, Alderwoman Robinson gave a good summary about what the whole section is about, but the only change that's in that section is wearing a muzzle, that underlined portion. So all the rest of the rules are the same as they are today. The only change that was proposed to policy was that if somebody was handling a vicious dog and they're walking them, that they'd have a muzzle on them. And I think Mr. Grace might be able to tell you some of the background to that. And then as far as the grandfathering section in 5.3.1, we just wanted to make clear that we weren't changing anything that was done in the past. The same kind of grandfathering provisions that we had regarding pit bulls, those were the same ones that still apply. So all of them that had to be registered back then, that was the only opportunity to register. The rules are unchanged.
Just cleaning it up because it referred to another date. This cleans it up so they can't get any more grandfathered in.
So, except for, you said the muzzle, everything else is word for word in the existing ordinance?
Well, and the 5.2.6 has a little structure change to make it flow. In other words, like as far as numbering goes, it's not 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, it's 1 ABC, 2, 3, 4. I mean, it's this little structural change. But the only language that has been added in that section is wearing a muzzle and. As far as 5.3.1, we didn't see the need for all the multiple paragraphs of text about grandfathering pit bulls because you can't grandfather them anymore. They're they were either properly registered and grandfathered at the time they were supposed to be done, or they weren't.
All right, we've got a motion second. We're in discussion on the motion to amend. Alderman Witcher.
Okay. Mayor and Mr. Carter and Ms. Jones, I notice as part of her motion, 5.3.1A excuses the dogs that were grandfathered under the A clause, and I was just wondering how that came about. And it reads, to keep the vicious dog confined within a dwelling unit or a commercial building. And with this particular amendment, it would not make that a requirement for dogs who have been grandfathered. That's, at least that's the way I read it.
Well, you're right. Part A just says that if they were grandfathered in, then they're not banned. Part B just says all the things that they have to meet, all requirements for the grandfathered dogs.
They were grandfathered.
If they were already grandfathered in.
If they were grandfathered in, they're not banned. That's the A section.
Okay. We've got a motion to amend and a second, and we're in discussion on the motion to amend. Alderman, any other council member? On the motion?
Ross?
Yes.
White?
Yes.
Taylor?
Yes.
Robinson?
Yes.
Gaines?
Yes.
Baggett?
Yes.
Height?
Yes.
And Witcher?
Yes.
Any other discussion? Are we ready for a motion to adopt, or you want to, what's your pleasure?
Move for adoption as amended.
Second.
Discussion?
Well, I'm just not ready. We need to do a little more chicken work.
Okay, what's your suggestion?
Hold it.
Well, the motion to adopt is amended, so that's before us now.
Okay. Go ahead.
Okay, I'll withdraw it.
Well,
If the second will withdraw.
I think you made the second. Who made the second?
I made the second.
Alderwoman Robinson?
It won't hurt my feelings. We can scratch around on it for a while.
On the motion to adopt.
Ross?
Okay, where are we right now?
You want me to remove the second?
Whatever y'all want to do, it's fine.
To me, with the chicken, I don't have a problem with 75 feet, so why would we hold it up?
Well, do we need to look at changing the 75 feet
To what?
or to as far as possible?
Or banning them.
I don't like the, as far as
At
possible.
this point, yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and call the roll, but I mean, we can always come back and amend it later, but at this point, I'm gonna, unless somebody wants to, undo where we are. We have a motion and a second, and, if this is adopted as it is, it means 75 feet. If you can't do 75 feet, you don't get a license. Now, if somebody wants to change it, they can either vote no, or they can, but I think we'll just try to move this forward with Ms. Whitby calling the roll.
Can I say one more thing?
Okay.
I am going to go ahead and vote on it, but I will come back and look at the chickens, because there's too many good things in here that we need to get in place, and I don't want to hold that up because of the chickens. So,
and
I
that's
agree,
all.
we will come back and look at the chickens if we need to look at the chickens.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, so let me get this clear then. It's 75 feet or no chickens, right?
Right.
That's it. And if you got chickens and you're less than 75 feet, you're in trouble, Mr. Grace. All right, on the motion.
Ross?
Yes.
White? Taylor?
Yes.
Robinson?
Yes.
Gaines?
Yes.
Baggett?
Yes.
Height? And Witcher?
Yes.
On the emergency, Ross?
Yes.
White?
Yes.
Taylor?
Yes.
Robinson?
Yes.
Gaines?
Yes.
Baggett?
Yes.
Height? And Witcher?
Yes.
Go to new business.
Resolution 0992, Mayor Hayes.
Please call it.
A resolution declaring certain buildings, houses, and other structures located at 307 Short in the city of North Little Rock to constitute a public nuisance and condemning said structures, providing a period of time for property owner to abate said nuisance.
Do I have a motion for adoption?
So moved.
Second.
As our normal practice, I'm going to go ahead and convene a public hearing on this matter. The matter is regarding 307 Short. The listed owners are Charles Calmes, C-A-L-M-E-S, 307 Short. Anyone care to address the council on this matter? Adjourn the public hearing on the motion.
Ross?
Yes.
White?
Yes.
Taylor?
Yes.
Robinson?
Yes.
Gaines?
Yes.
Baggett?
Yes.
Height?
Yes.
And Witcher?
Yes.
RO 993, Mayor Hayes.
Please call it.
A resolution declaring certain buildings, houses, and other structures located at 2207 and a half Poplar Street in the city of North Little Rock to constitute a public nuisance and condemning said structures, providing a period of time for property owner to abate said nuisance.
Move for
Have a
adoption.
Second.
Move.
Motion made and seconded. You're seeing some photographs of the home. This is a public hearing now being convened on 2207 and a half Poplar Street. The listed owner is Sylvester West. The microphone's open for this public hearing. Adjourn the public hearing on the motion.
Ross?
Yes.
White?
Yes.
Taylor?
Yes.
Robinson?
Yes.
Gaines?
Yes.
Baggett?
Yes.
Height?
Yes.
And Witcher?
Yes.
Resolution 0994, Mayor Hayes.
Please call
A
it.
resolution declaring certain buildings, houses, and other structures located at 321 North Clark in the city of North Little Rock to constitute a public nuisance and condemning such structures, providing a period of time for property owner to abate said nuisance.
Get a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Can I say something?
Excuse me? Just,
Make a comment.
okay. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, when they show the pictures, well, there's one right there, the pictures of the vagrants that are in these houses. These are the things that the neighbors are having to put up with, in and out, and there's, and you look at what they're living in there. Just wanted to point that out.
Thank you. Convene a public hearing, 321 North Clark. The listed owner is Annie Smith and Addie, A-D-D-I-E, McCain. Microphone's open. During the public hearing on the motion.
Ross?
Yes.
White?
Yes.
Taylor?
Yes.
Robinson?
Yes.
Gaines?
Yes.
Baggett?
Yes.
Height?
Yes.
And Witcher?
Yes.
Resolution 0995, Mayor Hayes.
Mr. City Attorney, we're going to hold that one.
I'm asking that you hold that. Some of the people who are listed on that, we've been in contact with. We've actually received payment for a few of them, and we'd ask the council to hold this until the next meeting so we can provide you an amended list.
So we don't need to convene a public hearing even though we're not going to call it.
I would ask that you just pass it until the next meeting.
And have a public hearing in conjunction with the legislation.
Yes, I would. I'd appreciate that.
Ms. Whitby, if you'd note that on the legislation, it'll be held then. Next item,
Resolution 0996, Mayor Hayes.
please call it.
A resolution amending the 2009 Annual Action Plan to increase project funding amounts in accordance with an increase in 2009 CDBG and home funds to the city of North Little Rock, Arkansas.
Move for adoption.
Second.
Any discussion on the motion?
Ross?
Yes.
White?
Yes.
Taylor?
Yes.
Robinson?
Yes.
Gaines? Baggett?
Yes.
Height?
Yes.
And Witcher?
Yes.
Resolution 0997, Mayor Hayes.
Please call it.
A resolution accepting the low bid of Lambert Construction for improvements to an alley running north and south between Main and Maple Streets, 4th Street to 5th Street, approving Craft and Tull Sparks Engineers as construction inspectors and appropriating funds.
Can I get a motion?
So move.
There's a second?
Second.
As you know, this is between Main and Maple. It is between 4th and 5th. 12 residents, maybe 14, 12 to 14 residents are now in construction, along with the activities we have on Main Street. This is principally for drainage that will be impacted by those additional residences as well as the additional activity on Main Street. We are going to concrete the alleys. These alleys, we're going to try to add a bit of, we'll say, opportunities for foot traffic and a real opportunity as we add 20 residences per block. On the motion.
Ross?
Yes.
White?
Yes.
Taylor?
Yes.
Robinson?
Yes.
Gaines? Baggett?
Yes.
Height?
Yes.
And Witcher?
Yes.
Resolution 0998, Mayor Hayes.
Please call it.
Resolution authorizing the mayor and city clerk to enter into a lease agreement with Gain Incorporated for property located at 504 West 51st Street, North Little Rock.
This, do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
This is a nonprofit. It's a home that I believe the city received. Ms. Bowman, you want to tell us a little bit about it?
Yes.
This was a dollar house that the city received approximately 7 years ago. And at that time, we gave it to a nonprofit who worked with the homeless. And then we also spent around $35,000 with community development block grant funds to renovate it. Since that time, that organization has closed its doors. But during that time, they were also, which we did not know, but they were leasing it at that for about, I don't know, a year? 2 years. They were leasing it to Gain Inc., who also serves low-income people. And so once the organization that we had initially given it to closed their doors, they quit claim it deed back to the city. And so what we're asking now is that we just have a lease prepared to lease it to Gain Inc. And I have a representative here from Gain Inc. who can talk a little bit about the organization if need be.
All right, why don't you give us just a paragraph, because we sure do like to know people that do good work, and then either one of you answer any questions any council member might have. Yes, sir.
My name's Eugene Meyer. I'm a case manager with the GAIN program. We serve people with chronic persistent mental illness and substance use disorders. Frequently, when they're released from the hospital, after they're stabilized, they're homeless, and we use this house as a transitional house until we can find them permanent housing. Monday through Friday, they're picked up, they go to GAIN for day treatment, and they're there all day. On the weekends, we go by and see them twice a day for medication management and check on them. We have someone on call 24 hours a day, so we've never had any problems there, but if there is any problems, we have a case manager available to go out and to deal
How
with any
about
complaints.
your neighbors, as you worked with them? Have you had any complaints from any of your neighbors?
None at all. We haven't had any problems there at all. Been there about
Microphone's
2
open.
years.
Yes, ma'am?
I was just going to, one of my questions, number 14 in the lease, under the liability insurance, who in the city handles making sure that, you know, when we do these leases, that they do provide us with the liability insurance? I just want to make sure that, you know, that, will that be your office, that they will provide you a copy of?
It'd probably be legal.
Legal, okay. So before the lease is signed, they will provide you, is that correct, Mr. Carter?
Is that who, Mr. Carter, is that who normally, or who would normally provide?
We can. Normally, it's whatever agency within the city is running the lease is normally the way that we do it.
Okay, and it's fine
I don't
for
have a
us.
problem with being involved and helping out however I can. We will make sure that it
Okay.
happens.
I just know a lot of times we do these things, and I always wonder if they actually,
Yeah, and that's a
to
good
provide us with a
question.
liability policy so that we're,
I think normally who we're looking to is the particular agency inside the city that's managing and has oversight of the contract. Like for property that Parks and Rec would manage, they'd have
They're
the oversight of
responsible.
those contracts and make sure that they have compliance.
okay.
You
I
know,
was just-
so.
It was more a question. And one other question, and so Gain Inc. will be responsible for mowing the yard, the upkeep, everything? Okay.
Correct.
And the gutter that needs fixed right now will be fixed, is that correct? Okay, good.
I might add that in the 6 years that we've had someone in the house, either through either organization, my office has never received a complaint or any problems at that location.
It's a very nice street. I mean, there's some nice houses there. One other question I had, the aldermen in the area, have they ever received any complaints or anything? Okay. Good.
How many beds do you have?
4.
4.
The Church of Rock Creek came out about a month ago and went up through the entire house and made repairs to everything. And there was a shed in the backyard that was real run down. They tore it down completely and really did some good work. To make the house look better, sandblasted it and cleaned it. And looks good.
Any other questions?
Well, I just had one. Is there someone that lives there full-time, like a counselor or supervisor or?
Not a counselor.
No.
They are all clients that live there. We have one that is a veteran that's very stable, that's been, he likes to be around people, so we've let him stay there and not transition out. Because he feels more comfortable in that role, and he's very conscientious about calling and telling us anything that's going on or if there's any
Okay.
problems.
Okay. And this is a 12-month lease, so if we see that this isn't working out, then we, there's a possibility. Is that correct, with a 2-year renewable option?
That is true, and
after that?
also that I'll make periodic visits just to make sure everything's kept up.
Okay, good.
Alderman Gaines?
Yeah, one of your neighbors called, and they were very complimentary of what y'all were doing. They asked me, though, and I couldn't answer, about how many do you have in the daytime during the week? How many clients do you usually have there?
Typically 4. We have 4 bedrooms
okay.
in the house, and we have had 5 at one time, but we've never went over that.
Okay, yeah.
And 5 was just very temporary. We had someone moving out, so we let them just stay, I think, 2 nights before that one moved out, and they replaced him. That way they all have their own bedrooms, and a lot more comfortable for them.
Okay. They were very complimentary with the work you were doing there.
Well, we appreciate it. On the motion?
Ross?
Yes.
White?
Yes.
Taylor?
Yes.
Robinson?
Yes.
Gaines?
Yes.
Baggett?
Yes.
Height?
Yes.
And Witcher?
Yes.
Resolution 0999, Alderman Witcher.
Call it, please.
A
And I'd
resolution.
like to add Alderman Height, please.
Okay.
Without objection?
A resolution authorizing the mayor and city clerk to enter into an access agreement between the City of North Little Rock and Indian Hills Community Club appropriating funds.
Move for adoption.
Second, I have a comment.
Comment?
Just a short one.
Sure, help yourself.
I grew up in Indian Hills. My parents moved out there in 1962, and actually I lived on Coronado Circle back when Coronado Circle was almost the western edge of Indian Hills, and that pool out there was a great gathering place for a lot of people that lived in North Little Rock. Ever since I became an alderman in Ward 4 back in 2001, Murray and I, Alderman Witcher and I, have searched for a place to be a neighborhood park in Ward 4, and all the other wards seem to have either Burns Park or a pool or a recreational center of various types, but it seems like Ward 4 just does not have a real neighborhood park that we could proudly call our own. And so this money that's going to the Indian Hills Community Club is not just to help them operate, but it's to make available a neighborhood park in Ward 4 that I would love for the people of Ward 4 and the rest of the wards to feel welcome at. So for that, I stand behind Alderman Witcher on his request to get this approved.
If I'm not mistaken, and Alderman Witcher, Alderman Height can address this, that with the city's partnership, this recreational opportunity will be open to all citizens of the community on an equal basis, and you know, I can understand the motivation of the council, these aldermen, and I know that I had a chance to work with Tommy Hollowell, who has been very active at times in trying to move forward with different opportunities for the city to be of assistance, and I know this seems like it might be an opportunity to add to that, you know, to those comments that Alderman Height said. So, you know, I can see where that would be something that we'd want to support. Yes, ma'am.
Well, I just want to say, I echo what you say about Ward 4, because I was speaking to Ms. Jones, I think, at the Parks meeting about how Ward 4 has nothing. They don't have, you know, you don't have the community centers, you don't have the different facilities that the other wards do, and if this gives access to some people in Ward 4, then I'm all for it. I think it's a great idea.
I would agree, but you know, I mean, we don't need to neglect commenting on how active and how beneficial LPOA is and the activities that they do up there. So, I mean, while they don't have their own city community.
Exactly, but I'm saying the city facilities, you know, we have, you know, like I said, all the other wards, we have a community center. You do not have community centers.
Thank you,
They don't
Alderman.
have the parks either.
Alderman, thank you.
Makes sense to us. Yes, ma'am.
So do you have any other pool in Ward 4 that might be available to the community?
Lakewood is available through, and don't we have an agreement with Lakewood?
Not
You can
formal, not
Not a
formal,
formal,
but
okay.
you can
You
join.
can join as a non-property owner,
Resident,
if I'm
yeah.
not mistaken, but you pay
For an
a higher
additional
fee,
fee.
I think.
Yeah.
So there's
Recruit, yeah.
an avenue, and then of course you can join the YMCA up there on JFK if you wanted to have an access to that pool. So other than LPOA and joining through, you know, the non-resident, we'll say, or non-property owner, the YMCA is available up there, and then you've got Overbrook Pool that's available. That is a possibility, but I think that's just property owners. So
Yeah, it's only, Overbrook is only available to property owners in Overbrook subdivision.
One more question. How long would this be available to the public? For 5 years, the public would be able to access this pool?
Mm-hmm.
On the motion.
Ms.
I'm
White,
sorry.
let me make one comment. Actually, for a long, long time, that pool has been available to the public for use. And the group of volunteers that operate that pool have sent out notices to folks in the Park Hill area, both the old and new part of Park Hill, and the Windsor Valley area. And so folks from those areas have used this for quite a long time. So it's been public for a long time.
On the motion.
Ross?
Yes.
Mayor,
Take away.
last couple of years, we have some people come up and make comments, and sometimes we don't answer them. And one of the things that I wanted to ask real quickly, City Attorney, this letter we got in, I've several times, Alderman I'm with, whether it's Baggett or someone else, we've switched out with the budget items. And someone's questioned that on this letter, and someone's called in, someone spoke against it, and, I just want to clarify that this is something we do all the time. It's normal. I've got 2 calls about it, and we've got a letter here earlier, and I just wanted you, when we call something we're doing illegal, that's unusual, I think. So would you comment on that, please, before we vote on this? And I intend to support this, don't get me wrong, Alderman Witcher.
Are you referring to comments about drainage funds?
Yes.
Yes, and by practice of the use of drainage funds in the past, by historic practice, this is consistent. I think this is a consistent use of the funds that we've used for drainage funds. Obviously, I think the term was adopted a while back,
If I'm not
and we've consistent
mistaken,
with.
we actually adopted legislation that broadened the use of drainage funds for
We
a
did.
variety of purposes
And-
that are in concert with what the 2 council members feel is in the best interest of the ward. So it's a broader definition than drainage funds.
And we did that, but the moniker stuck. So it's not illegal. It's an odd name, admittedly. It's an odd name, but the moniker stuck, but it's not illegal.
So I know in our ward, we've done some for the Police Athletic League, the Police Activities League, and done the very same thing.
Well, I think city beautification grants, when we ran that program and got that set up, they also come out of drainage funds. It's an unrelated thing. It's just the moniker is still there, although we have voted to expand the lawful purpose for those funds.
Thank you. Alderman White.
I just wanted to mention the beautification grants that had come out of that money, so.
Alderman Ross, do you have anything else?
I think we were all thinking beautification grants. This little side.
On the motion.
Stole your thunder.
On the motion.
Ross was yes.
Yes.
White?
Yes.
Taylor?
Yes.
Robinson?
Yes.
Gaines?
Yes.
Baggett?
Yes.
Height?
Yes.
And Witcher?
Yes, thank you, folks.
Resolution 09-100, Alderwoman Robinson, Alderman Taylor.
Please call it.
A resolution authorizing the mayor and city clerk to purchase certain real estate located at the northeast corner of Highway 161 and Bethany Road and appropriating funds.
Move to suspend the rules, place on the second reading.
You mean to adopt?
No, you don't need to.
Oh, I'm sorry, it's a resolution. We move to adopt.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay.
Is there any discussion?
One of the things that, we'd like to say is that right there at 161 in Bethany is real tight as far as cars turning off of 161 onto East Bethany. And not only that, if you notice the legislation mentioned proposed sidewalk and school bus stop along Bethany. The kids were standing on at a vacant lot, and the owner of the lot decided that they did not want the kids standing on their lot. And then, many of the neighbors did not want the kids standing in front of their houses, early morning. And so we had an opportunity to purchase this property, and our concerns are that kids are safe. And so we had this opportunity, and we just thought it was a great idea to just move forward on this. We also plan in the future to widen right there at 161 and East Bethany. So we're going to do 3 things. In the future, we're going to widen it. We're going to put a sidewalk in. And if you notice, the legislation say no formal right-of-way has ever been dedicated to the city along this property. So we're going to put sidewalks in, try to make a place for school kids to be able to catch the school bus, and then in the future, widen it.
On the motion.
Ross?
Yes.
White?
Yes.
Taylor?
Yes.
Robinson?
Yes.
Gaines? Baggett?
Yes.
Height?
Yes.
And Witcher?
Yes.
Ordinance 0946, Mayor Hayes.
Please call it.
An ordinance annexing a pocket of land located along Maumelle Boulevard to be titled the River Point Plaza Pocket Annexation to the City of North Little Rock, Arkansas, and making the River Point Plaza Pocket Annexation a part of the City of North Little Rock. First reading.
Before we ask to take it to second reading, I just wanted to mention, this is an area I think there was an article in the paper over the weekend, if not today, that discussed this. We thought it was in the city. We collected hamburger tax for it, and we found out that it was not in the city. And I know I talked to the owner today, and Keith Richardson told me that he has this one issue that he has some concern about, and I think the city attorney's office has been perhaps discussing it with his attorney, and that's regarding whether or not they're subject to a 5-second rotation time versus a 15-second, which is the city's. And I indicated to Keith that that obviously that is perhaps either by concert or debate, and that that irrespective of what the answer is, we would hope that our lawyers could get consistent on whether that application applies to the county or whether they were extraterritorial zoning, but that that it was my intent, without his objection, to move forward and to leave that issue to be resolved with discussions between the city attorney's office and his lawyer. So absent that issue, he did not have an objection for us going forward with the annexation, and I indicated that that would be my intent, with, again, the caveat that legal counsel with his lawyer would try to discuss whether there was any gray area with regard to the 15 seconds and 5 seconds, which he's been practicing on his sign. So if there's any questions, I'll be happy to answer them, but that was the only issue that he had, and I felt like we could go forward with the annexation and resolve that through legal discussions.
So would they be grandfathered in, basically?
I'm not sure, because I don't know. I mean, that again, there may be some issues that I'm not aware of. And the reason I say I'm not sure, we have extraterritorial zoning authority, which goes outside our corporate city limits, and whether this might have some application to this. One thing that I think we're not debating is the fact that this was in the county, or is in the county, subject to us annexing it. So it's a little bit of a gray area, and there may be some timing issues, and when we adopted what, there may not be. I know his lawyer had a feeling that, at least that he shared with me, that they may not be subject to us, and that they may be some grandfathering, but I didn't think that ought to apply to us holding up on the annexation, particularly as we address what is the collection of needed hamburger taxes. So with that, he didn't object to going forward. Yes, sir?
I just say I've tried to contact his attorney about 5 times, and he's tried to contact me at least that many times. We've just been chasing each other backwards and forwards. I don't think that it's something, because this is just a pocket annexation, it's simple pocket annexation, it's not something that has to hold up the deal. I need to look at the law and where we stand as far as the grandfathering of the sign goes. I can't tell you right now whether I'd agree with them or disagree with them. I just need to study the issue more to be able to give an accurate answer.
Well, like I said, what I told him is that I felt the same thing, that issue shouldn't hold it up, that discussions between his lawyer and our city attorney's office would hopefully clarify it, and that obviously we would go along with whatever issues that with some optimism that the two of y'all will be on the same page. If not, well, then we'll deal with it in a different manner. I'm sorry.
Okay. Mayor, like by tradition, particularly on the large signboards, we have exercised our extraterritorial rights in managing those particular issues, with the exception of the interstate system. And so that's established a precedent for us.
Well, in any event, again, the actual arguments one way or the other, I really didn't get into. I wanted to make sure that he knew that we were reserving that issue, and that I didn't feel it ought to hold up the moving forward with the annexation, and he agreed to that. With that, I'd ask the rules be suspended if some council member may be inclined. So moved. Is there a second?
Second.
On the motion to suspend?
Ross?
Yes.
White?
Yes.
Taylor? Robinson?
Yes.
Gaines?
Yes.
Baggett?
Yes.
Height?
Yes.
And Witcher?
Yes.
This is an ordinance annexing a pocket of land located along Maumelle Boulevard to be titled River Point Plaza Pocket Annexation to the City of North Little Rock, Arkansas, and making the River Point Plaza Pocket Annexation a part of the City of North Little Rock. Second reading.
Move to suspend rules and place it on its third reading.
On the motion?
Ross?
Yes.
White?
Yes.
Taylor?
Yes.
Robinson?
Yes.
Gaines?
Yes.
Baggett?
Yes.
Height?
Yes.
And Witcher?
Yes.
An ordinance annexing a pocket of land located along Maumelle Boulevard to be titled River Point Plaza Pocket Annexation to the City of North Little Rock, Arkansas, and making the River Point Plaza Pocket Annexation a part of the City of North Little Rock. Third and final reading.
On the question?
Ross?
Yes.
White?
Yes.
Taylor?
Yes.
Robinson?
Yes.
Gaines?
Yes.
Baggett?
Yes.
Height?
Yes.
And Witcher?
Yes.
On the emergency, Ross?
Yes.
White?
Yes.
Taylor?
Yes.
Robinson?
Yes.
Gaines?
Yes.
Baggett?
Yes.
Height?
Yes.
And Witcher?
Yes.
Concludes new business.
Any council member? Alderwoman Robinson.
One of the things that, I wanted to bring before the council, I had contacted the city attorney's office about drafting some legislation regarding wrecked cars and, being out in front of body shops. And it's really a nuisance, and some neighbors and some constituents had stated that, they aren't allowed to have wrecked cars in neighborhoods or in their yards, but whereas we allow body shops, and they're stating maybe because it's a business, to display, the wrecked cars and stuff out front of the building. I contacted the city attorney's office and asked them to begin drafting some legislation, because what I would prefer is that these wrecked cars and the body parts, automobile parts be in the backyard. And then if there are neighbors that live behind the property, that they screen the property. So I just, kind of wanted to throw this out to you guys to let you know what's coming in 2 weeks. And if you have any comments or any concerns, or if you think it's going to cause a hardship, let's talk about it before, I bring the legislation before the body. Okay?
Alderwoman Ross.
I just want to say that Saturday at Crestview Park at 9:30, the Park Hill Neighborhood Association group, or the Park Hill Neighborhood Group, be having a city cleanup. They're doing their cleanup at the Crestview Park at 9:30, and then the United Neighbors Coalition, is that correct? Picnic is... Oh, is Jack there? Oh, okay, he may want to get up and talk about the picnic. There's United Coalition of Neighborhood Associations. They're having their picnic at 11:30 under the Main Street Bridge Saturday. Is it 11:30 to 1? 11:30 to 1?
Great
Okay.
hot dogs and hamburgers, and we welcome everybody. They have a good crew of folks that are down there, and the camaraderie is exceptional. Bring a chair. Bring a chair. Anyone else? Alderman Height?
I just want to, on behalf of Carti's Tour de Rock annual bike ride that's going to be held this Saturday at Burns Park. They're going to have various distances. They're going to have a 100-mile ride, a 62-mile ride, which is a 100K, metric 100-mile. They're going to have a 50-mile ride, a 30-mile ride, and I think, if I'm not mistaken, even a 20-mile ride. But they're going to have rides for every level of abilities. You must wear a helmet, but that starts at 7 a.m. Saturday morning out at Burns Park. And after the ride, they've got some great barbecue, some great food, and a lot of fun, bands. And anyway, I'd like to, on behalf of Carti and Tour de Rock, I invite all the bicyclists. And if you know somebody that rides a bike, invite them out too. So.
What's your distance?
I'm going to do the metric 62 this year. I'm going to do the metric 62K or whatever.
Alderman.
Do my age actually. So.
And I wore my Mickey Mini bicycle tie tonight, just in support of Charlie, of your bicycle trail. So
Gonna make me cry.
We like our trails, all kinds, bikes, walkers, strollers, and Alderwoman White.
Just to remind everybody, this is the week the Ozark Mission Project is working in our community in many places, and we'll get more of a report on that when they're finished. They're going to do some hard work this week.
Let me just mention to the council real quickly, Mr. Voyles, are you here? We have some preliminary indication. I know the council last week authorized us to move forward on the acquisition of some land for a four-wheeler park, 400 acres, or how much? 200 acres. 200 acres. And the owner, we still got some appraisal issues we want to make sure we work out, but the owner has agreed to donate 20%, assuming an appraisal figure works out, and the Highway Department has agreed to accept that as our 20% match. So we're on target to be able to acquire that 200-acre site that's adjacent to I-440, and we hope to be in a position here in the next several months to begin the process of making that recreational opportunity available for our folks. Mr. Voyles has been out there. I think there's several fishing lakes that might be utilized in addition to motocross. So with that, let me open the microphone.
Excuse me.
Oh, I'm sorry, Ms. Whitby. She raised her hand, and I meant to recognize our city clerk.
Well, I wanted to bring up that, once again, the North Little Rock Fire Department is joining the THV Summer Cereal Drive that began June 1st and is through the 22nd. People can drop off cereal products to any North Little Rock Fire Station, or if they want to bring them to the next council meeting, we'll make arrangements for them to pick them up here at City Hall, or we'll get them to them. For more information, they can call Peggy Burrell at the Fire Department at 340-5377.
And now we're getting ready to open it for public comment. Mr. Ard, oh, I'm sorry. You got to look around again.
Yeah, Crowlac Realtors is also participating in the THV cereal drive. So if you have cereal that you want to drop off, you can drop it off at any Crowlac Realtors location.
All right, before I open it up to public comment.
And don't forget, you also drop the cereal off at Twin City Bank in Levy on Camp Robinson. Okay? They're collecting that too.
School's out, and we want to have fun in the city. With that, public comment. I'm sorry, Mr. Baggett. Go ahead.
Mayor, I want to say what a great tool these computers are going to be to help us and our constituents and our wards. And thank you so much, Diane Whitby, for all the work, and Mayor, for you did to help us get these computers. We appreciate it.
We like technology. We just need to learn how to use
Well,
it.
and this is an example of, from this meeting, just from Alderman Witcher and Height. This is what will go into the recycling bin from them.
We're going to be saving trees.
Yes.
With that, Mr. Ard's the only one that signed up for public comment. Mr. Ard, you have 3 minutes.
I won't take all of them. First, if y'all do something on working on cars, I was given a citation when I had to order a oil pan for one because they wouldn't let me work on it. I think y'all let people work on their own cars in their, say, backyard. Hobo Joe has just opened. Y'all voted on that. Not everybody voted for it. The building turned out real great. Y'all will go by and look at it. The council members that doesn't want it in their wards, they'll go by and look at it because they look good in their wards too. Alderman Baggett, have you still got your roosters in your backyard?
I do. I won't tomorrow, though.
Do I have a motion? So moved. On the motion.
Ross? White?
Yes.
Taylor? Robinson? Gaines? Baggett?
Yes.
Height? And Witcher?